Because what happens when you numb feelings that you don't want to feel? They go deeper. They go deeper into your body. They get stuck physically in your body. So then you have a situation where your back hurts, you have headaches, you have unexplained aches and pains, you get a cold, you get sinus, you have a cough that won't go away. Like all of these physical symptoms that start coming up for you can be traced back to an emotion that you have suppressed and buried deep into the body. If you've ever felt like you were destined for more, you're in the right place. It's time to break out of the box you've been placed in. The world is waiting for your light. Hello friend, thank you for joining me for another talk. Today, I want to dive into a topic that I love to talk about. It's really near and dear to my heart, and that is negative emotions and triggers that cause negative emotions and the patterns that can happen in our lives. So these types of emotions, and let me back up a little bit. There's really no such thing as a negative emotion or a positive emotion. An emotion just is. It just is. You know, we assign a lot of meaning to things. And because of that, we feel that we are bad because we're experiencing something that feels bad. So I shouldn't feel this way. This feels bad. I feel angry. I feel upset. Therefore, I am not good, right? I am not doing my best. I am not at my optimal self. And that is true in a way that, yes, you may not feel like that you're at your optimal self, but it doesn't mean that you're bad, that you're negative, just because you're experiencing an emotion that is bad or negative, or that you're perceiving to be bad or negative. So there's a distinction there that's important to make. But having said that, nobody wants to feel sad and upset and hurt and angry. And so when we feel that way, the natural thing is to want to get out of that and to want to escape that feeling and feel better, right? And you should feel great every single day. You absolutely deserve to feel at your best as much of the time as possible. That's absolutely should be a goal for every single one of us. But sometimes it feels impossible to reach that happy, good state because we're struggling, and there are things that come up, and there are people that say things that hurt us, or situations that are just stressful and hurtful. And many times you'll notice that there are triggers. So somebody will say something or do something, and it'll evoke a feeling in you that may be so much bigger than the situation, but because you were triggered by whatever happened, it reminds you of another time where you felt a similar way, and it brings you right back into that negative space. And if you'll notice and pay attention to the patterns in your life, you'll notice that things tend to come up more like kind of in cycles. You'll notice that maybe you got rid of the ex-boyfriend that was, not a nice guy, and he was doing all this stuff, and he was making you feel a certain way. So maybe you got rid of him, but then maybe someone else showed up in your life that made you feel a very similar way. Not doing those exact things, not saying those things, but evoking those very similar emotions that you remember back then. And so a lot of times this will happen because you can move yourself out of a situation, you can move yourself out of the city, you can change your friends, you can change your surroundings, you can change everything. But everywhere you go, you take yourself with you. Meaning everywhere you go, you take your emotions, your triggers, your past, the things that you think about, the things that are on autopilot that you don't think about. You take all of that with you. And so if you begin to think, well, where have I felt like this before? When have I had the same reaction to a completely different situation? This will help you gain some clarity, and it'll help you notice some patterns. But what I really want to talk about today is how oftentimes people, myself included, I think everyone does this. We tend to not want to feel anything that doesn't feel quote unquote good, right? We don't want to feel angry. So when we feel angry, we reach for something that will numb that angry feeling. So things like putting on Netflix and just binge watching mindlessly some kind of show or movie, grabbing a glass of wine or beer or whatever sends us out, right? Maybe we get on the phone and we call a friend and we start gossiping and we start repeating, you won't believe what happened to me. And so that helps you to feel justified in your feelings, because now you're able to vent and sort of dump all of this onto your friend, and your friend will obviously want to agree with you and help you to feel better. And so that can be a way of numbing that anger, because you're now essentially taking it from yourself and placing it onto someone else, so someone else can also experience it with you. Another way that we do this is we get on the phone and we do the mindless scroll, the mindless social media scroll, or shopping, online shopping or whatever type of shopping. But we're not doing these things because we feel inspired to do them in this moment. We're doing these things because we want to numb the feeling that we don't want to feel. And I can tell you that from my personal experience, and I've noticed this about myself recently, I've been really paying attention to this. I asked myself, when do I go and do like the mindless scrolling on social media? And I've noticed that I do it whenever I have an emotion that I don't want to feel. So something comes up in my house, like for example, we have like termites and a roof leak and all this stuff, and I don't want to feel the stress of that. So I grab my phone, and without even thinking about it, I realized that I just wasted a half hour, an hour, or however much time. And the reason why I picked up my phone in the first place is because I didn't want to feel the stress of what's happening in my house. And because I've noticed this about myself, I now realize that I would like to change this, and that I don't want to numb feelings that I don't want to feel. Because what happens when you numb feelings that you don't want to feel? They go deeper. They go deeper into your body. They get stuck physically in your body. So then you have a situation where your back hurts, you have headaches, you have unexplained aches and pains, you get a cold, you get sinus, you have a cough that won't go away. Like all of these physical symptoms that start coming up for you can be traced back to an emotion that you have suppressed and buried deep into the body. The body doesn't forget those emotions. Maybe your mind forgot them or temporarily was able to forget about them, but the body remembers, and then those things come out. And so it is extremely important that when you have an emotion that you feel is a negative one, that you feel that you don't want to be feeling, it is extremely important that you stop numbing those emotions, that you stop looking for ways to escape those emotions. I had a situation that happened to me recently where I was really triggered and I felt really hurt and I felt upset. It's just one of those things, like I just felt upset and hurt, and I just was angry. And so the initial reaction is to distract myself, not think about it, not feel it. And I said to myself, no, I'm not going to do that this time, because I felt this way before. And I know that suppressing those emotions leads to other symptoms, which leads me just to feel worse. And then I'm not able to operate at my optimal self when I'm feeling that way. And I become an angry person, and I become bitter, and I become resentful. And that's not what I want to do. And so in my angry place, I sat down outside and I put my phone away, put my book away, I put everything away. I had nothing there that I could pay any attention to. And I just said, to myself, I said, you're going to sit now here with this emotion, and you're going to just feel this emotion that you're feeling. And then I thought to myself, where do you feel it? Where do you feel that emotion? I felt it in my stomach, and I felt it in my chest. And then I allowed myself just to breathe and really let it release, let it come out of my body. See the difference? Instead of digging it deeper into my body, distracting my mind, instead of that, I'm allowing my mind to go crazy, to think and spiral and have all the feelings and ideas that I'm having, allowing it, giving it a safe space and a moment to have and feel and think and say anything that it wants to, and then feel in my body physically where that is so that it can come out. And so I just sat there for like a long time, like 40 minutes. And I just sat there and I allowed myself to breathe, and I cried, and I didn't feel a lot better afterwards. Okay, this isn't one of those things that I'm like, well, you're gonna just sit outside at the park and you're gonna breathe, and your very most raw emotions are just going to dissipate into the wind. No, not necessarily. I didn't feel that much better. Actually, I felt still pretty crummy for quite a few days after. But the most magical thing happened is that after a few days went on, and I kept just anytime I would think about it or anytime it would come into my head, I would again not allow myself a distraction. And the most magical thing happened. Like, I got over it, like truly over it. Not just, I forgot about it until the next time that I'm triggered by something similar. It's like it truly released from my body, from my mind. I found acceptance. I found forgiveness. I feel okay with the situation, like entirely, completely. And so I would strongly encourage you to begin to look for the patterns in your life and look for the way and the ways that you numb your problems, that you numb your emotions. Give yourself permission to sit in an emotion. Give yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you need to feel. And give your body and your mind and your soul a chance to feel it, to process it, and then finally, eventually, let it go. Release and find acceptance and find forgiveness for the person that hurt you and for yourself. It's important that we forgive ourselves, because at the end of the day, it's us that we really beat up the most. We beat up ourselves the most out of anybody else, because it's not bad enough to feel a really bad emotion, but then we have to beat ourselves up over it also, don't we? We also sit there and say, I'm a bad person. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be feeling depressed. I shouldn't be feeling angry. I shouldn't be feeling sad. I should find gratitude. And we beat ourselves up. And in that beating up, we make it so much worse. Give yourself permission to just feel an emotion once. Pain is when something bad and painful happens to you. That's pain. Pain is in a moment in the present moment. Suffering is when we take that pain and we internalize it and we think about it and we talk about it and we carry it over and over and over, and we take it for years sometimes. For years we repeat these stories of the things and the way that people have, hurt us, and the way that people have betrayed us. And we take that pain that we felt in that moment when it happened, and then we create suffering by carrying it through for such a long time. And we have the tendency to not want to face it, but in the trying not to face it and in just carrying it, we make it so much worse. Because believe it or not, you actually have the ability to be really, really hurt by something, experience a lot of pain, and process it and let it go and be okay again, and find love again, and find the higher place again, and just be happy and just accept that the thing happened because it had to happen, because it did, but it's not happening anymore in this present moment. It's not happening anymore. And so try this the next time that you're feeling something negative. Check yourself and say, ooh, did I just turn on Netflix? Am I trying to escape this stress that I had today at work? Did I just pour myself a glass of wine because my kids were irritating me? Am I having a glass of wine because I want to have a glass of wine? Or am I having a glass of wine because I'm suppressing emotions? Big distinction. Big distinction. Be honest with yourself. And the next time that you're really, really, really upset and triggered, try what I did and just sit with it. And let me know. Let me know if you've done this, if it works for you. Comment, message me. I'd love to hear from you. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.